Hello and welcome everyone to Masculine Us. My name is Sahara Briscoe and I'm the host, and I'm here along with my co-host Charlie Sheena.
Hi guys.
I'm a designer and Charlie Sheena is a rapper on the come up and the one to watch for. Our purpose here at Masculine Us is to celebrate and amplify women who embrace their natural masculinity and who are looking to elevate themselves in their connection with the society and the world at large. And our mission to do this is by asking questions to inform and to guide folks towards the pathways and tools that they need to connect with themselves, each other, and the society. And I'm going to say this quickly. We don't care about your sexual preference. We don't care what that is. What we care about is your human qualities and your agency to express who you are. To start off, Charlie and I are going to be talking about a perception of masculinity in women that deals primarily with those who don't back down.
Right.
Okay, and you know, there's two women that we're going to riff on here. Okay, the first is Judge Tanya S. Chutkin. She is the U.S. District Court judge who's going to be handling Trump's trial in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Oh, that sister. She's faced...
On his heels. On his heels.
Yeah. She's faced death threats, which has her going from riding her bike to court every day to jogging with the U.S. Marshals.
Right.
Now, that's something.
Right. Run alongside me.
That's it.
Run alongside me.
Exactly.
Right.
And the second sister is Fannie Willis, who is in Atlanta, and she is the prosecutor that's going to be handling the trials for about she has up on 13 indictments. She's another sister who is not backing down. So, of course, when you have these kind of when you're in these kind of positions, you're going to have to deal with all of the drama that's put towards you, like, oh yeah, well, they acting like a man.
Right.
So let's talk about what is that perception?
I mean, I don't know what the perception is, but I think it's been going on for quite some time. Whatever it is that masculinity is owned and solely to be portrayed by men. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's happened since since I've been younger, since I've been growing up. Like, like, oh, you think you're a boy, you think you're a man, and it's never been that. It's been, this is like who I am. There's no one that showed me this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was nobody. All the women around me were submissive and hyper feminine. Mm-hmm. So where did I get this?
And that's interesting that, when we talk about hyperfemininity, because the historical perception of black women from slavery on has been one of masculinity. We have never been and are still not perceived of as women or as the ideal woman.
Right.
I mean, Sojourner Truth had to bare her breasts in front of 5,000 people and go, aren't I a woman too? Just in being able to state our position, a position of disagreement.
Right. I like you said that, and it's so funny. Like, when I go to the gym, in the women's locker room, I usually have to take my jacket off. Like, I even made like a reel on Instagram, making fun of the fact that I have to kind of walk in really feminine, because if not, I'm greeted by people who are like, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong. But I'm like, did I really get to this age and come and sign up for a gym and I can't read? Like, there's a giant W.
It's like you turn into a walking code.
Right.
Your whole persona changes. Behind your whole persona changes is to please people who have been, stereotyped and raised into a narrow frame of thought of what we're supposed to be as women.
Right, the Stepford wives. Like, that's crazy. Like,
and it's so funny when I look at, the generational divide.
Right.
Okay, when I was coming up, where, where the definition of butch, having short hair, being frumpy fashion-wise, no sense of style, tough, rough, you know, which on top of just being a black woman to begin with,
right,
you know, puts you into, as you know, you and I were riffing once before on a sense of isolation.
right.
You know,
It's tough.
It increases the agenda of hate.
It does.
You know, I know of folks who self-isolate as a form of protection because they can't really deal with the drama that they're going to face just stepping out their door. Or like those of us who have to act hard because of the circles that we're in, who have defined what masculinity is in women. Like, you're not hard enough just because you may decide to step out, you know, and wear a softer jacket. Or you're not walking with a permanent limp.
Right, right. I could definitely speak to that because growing up in New York City, like, you know, going to the village, you know, you know, it was exhausting. It's very hyper performative, that type of masculinity that they would display, and like that's rough. Like, that's rough. Like, and sometimes they would call me a faggot. And I feel like, and you know, I would take it as you know, I was like, whatever. Like, but
Don't water off the duck's
right,
back,
I don't
you know?
care. Oh, you mean I'm fashionable? Right. And in touch with my femininity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
you use that word because you really want to compliment me and you can't.
Right. Or like you don't have enough schemas, like enough to, you don't see enough of what I am to categorize me, so you kind of like make fun of me. But it's very divisive, especially in the LGBT community. It's like, this doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because, you know, now when, you know, with capitalism, marketing, and all, you know, genderless clothing, you know, you would think that some of the behavior and there would be more acceptance.
Right.
But, you know, but what I'm seeing in your generation, there's a broadening, but there's still a group of folks that want to define the concept
Right.
of masculinity, you know, and women for them. Like, you know, I know y'all want to do that, but we still are like this. And I'm like, well, where's this coming from? Because to me, it seems like you want to make sense to straight people.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like that has kind of, since like the early 2000s to now, what I've experienced is that it has changed. Like, it's less, because before it was, you know, it was like butch and set subcategories of like aggressive, femaggress, like. But now, like you said before, like the genderless clothing, I'm like, well, all my clothing is genderless because I got it on.
And I find, you know, it limits achievement. I mean, going back to the women that I had mentioned, okay, it's now like any black or brown woman who strives to achieve, okay, and you may be in a position where you are wearing a suit or you are wearing a skirt. But the point is that you're strong and you're achieving. You're not backing down from who you are.
Right.
Right away, you're getting hit from both sides. You know, you're getting drama from men who are, oh, well, who she thinks she is? She needs to sit down and go home and sit in that kitchen. Or on the LGBT side is, well, you know, listen, I understand what she's doing. But look at her.
But
she
what is she doing?
What is she doing? She doesn't look like us.
Right. The thing is,
so we hide, we shrink.
Some people hide, some people shrink. You know, it's honestly more of, for me personally, it's more of a blow to have that from your own people. Like, I don't care what Mr. Man over there or this small late individual thinks about me, because it really doesn't matter to me in the grand scheme of things. What I like about now, it's a lot of self-definition, what I see. You know what I'm saying? And you had said before when we were speaking, like, everybody wants to be seen. And, you know, it's an importance to that, because that identification, being identifiable when you felt like you didn't have a space. You know what I'm saying? Everything is kind of really a work in progress. Everything is not perfect, but I feel like things are moving forward.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dance, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
We're both,
the expansion of femininity. Femininity has now been expanded to, I look at it for marketing reasons, actually.
I feel like everything is for marketing reasons.
And, the expansion of femininity, but at the same time, there has been a rise in anti-gay and lesbians. There's been a rise in hate. Concurrently at the same, it's like you're being told, you can be whoever you want to be, except.
Right. I feel like that, that's a running theme. That's a running theme with us as human beings, like this contradictory thing. But yeah, it's definitely been a rise in hate, and I feel like it's hate crimes, and I think because of the visibility, it definitely puts a target on us. As far as from my point of view, and also I live in New York City, so it's different, but still, when I go to different places, it is very much like, you know what I'm saying? But like here, yeah, it's so nuanced. I feel like what we go through. But in the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s, it was more aggressive. I felt for like aggressives or butches, like the hate. It's kind of shifted a little bit still, but without that label, I'm still a black woman. So I'm still facing the black woman stuff because that's what it is. That's what people see me as, regardless of what I identify as, or, maybe they'll mistake me for a man, but like, I definitely get that woman oppression.
And that's the general oppression. If you were to show up to, you start to feel like, well, if I were to show up tomorrow with a dress on, I'd still get, I'd still get drama. It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
The racism is foremost, and it's based on that stereotype, which is reinforced in households, of how you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to carry yourself. I'm very happy now to see, sisters as judges, sisters as prosecutors, sisters who are going to not back down.
Right.
Where do you see these type of folks maybe being role models, in the community for younger women? Or, are we so caught up in just getting through the day?
Right. That it is very much
that we don't even notice that
it's very much
that there's people out there fighting the good fight.
Right.
I'm sure the one who is on trial never thought that
who would have him.
He would be facing the very people that we're supposed to be the lowest folks on the totem pole.
Right.
To me, that shows our strength is, or as someone said to me about, is this a choice? And I'm like, a choice to do what?
Right.
My strength is the result of what's going on out here. Our strength comes from what we have to become and do just to be seen.
Right.
To be taken seriously.
No soft life. No soft life over here.
No, but we can have soft moments.
Right.
You don't see them, but we have them.
Definitely. No, definitely. That's one thing. Like, no more hiding. That's toxic. It doesn't work. Like that. It doesn't work. Like the very people that you're afraid of, the very people that kind of terrorized you on the street corner, or that angry dude who can't let his feelings out. You finna do that? Like that's who you want to be?
And it's funny for me because it's confusing the issue. In my community, I'm still seeing young sisters trying to be hard, and I can see clean through it.
Right. Like have a good cry.
You're identifying with the very people that have a stigma against them. which is you're taking on a stigma.
And you already
You
got
know,
your
and
own
you
thing.
don't have to be that way.
At all.
And so my question now is, how do we think, as now that there are folks younger than yourself coming through, how do we get the message out to them that, you don't have to be a walking stigma. You can embrace we're MasculineUs, the personal power. Because a lot of us are personally powerful. We've been personally powerful since birth.
Right.
And the things that we do, I come from a family of mechanics. When we'd be in the junkyard and, I made $1 a part. They show me a car part because they know I can put, boom,
Get that money.
But then, the women in the family were, if you keep doing that, she's not going to be, she's not going to grow up to be a woman. And well, I mean, once again, look at this.
Right. They're there. They're there.
But my working knowledge about how mechanics and things work has led for me to become a very important designer.
Right.
So you can't block we're blocking the things that make us the most powerful because we're worried about, once again, what the society and
how you're perceived.
And not even like you said, you don't care about Mr. Man, but when someone you care about starts messing with you, it stings.
It does. It's
stings.
How you're perceived and worrying about being perceived. From what I've seen from the people that's younger than me, that's another thing that they're focused on. You understand what I'm saying? Because that wasn't what we fell in line. Like I fell in line. Like I had to fit it. At one point I was like, I can't do this shit. This is ridiculous. This is not even how I dress. I don't even like dressing like this. Like the fitted cap AG with the long thing. I'm like, y'all got style, bro. This is crazy. But being perceived is like the enemy of your self growth. But like worrying about being perceived. From what they're talking about now is you need to perceive yourself. Like that is what matters. How you feel about yourself, fully embracing who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? And really not letting anything get in the way. And everybody doesn't have access to this information. It baffles me sometimes that like this is still happening. But again, like I had said earlier, we're not hatched, like we're brought up. So it's like these environments of intolerance and all of these things are very divisive to our community on a whole as being Black people, people of color. Like all of that stuff is just distraction, and it really keeps us away from where we should be going.
Wow. Yeah, and distractions that's a really good point about making a distraction, because when you're busy being distracted by all of this noise of what you should be doing and who you're supposed to be, you miss out on elevating your potential. So in talking about, inherent masculinity, strength, and personal power, one particular sister comes to mind, and a friend and former guest on our show, Colette V. Smith, who in 2017 became the first African-American female coach in the NFL for the Jets. When that happened, I was agog, because I remember when she first came into football, like in her 40s, joining the New York Sharks. And I didn't know then that there was even, female football, a professional women's football league. I believe you were talking about that was around when you came up.
Definitely.
Wow, that's cool, because that tells me that, I'm kind of old. But she is now she's now the founder of the Believe in You Foundation, where she coaches and empowers young women to expand and enrich their personal power, as well as being an ambassador for domestic violence. But I'm particularly fond of the fact that, once again, this is another sister who won't back down.
Love that. So usually what I do to kind of keep myself centered and grounded is I have like, I do daily morning affirmations of having to do with self-confidence, self-love, and I also do, you know, mantras and guided meditations to really clear out the noise, so much of the noise that, you know, that I'm not good enough, you know, to try to emotionally reinforce that self-affirmations to really prepare me. You know, a lot of these affirmations are, you know, like focused for strength and guidance, clarity, and also, you know, being in touch with, you know, with my strength, that spiritual force. I forgot what they call it. It's like your higher self. Like being able, so I could be able to talk to my higher self to drown out all that noise and all of that kind of self-hate that makes you shrink. Like, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're not. I do that as well as guided meditations to really keep myself centered so that I could think, so that I can think and navigate through this life, you know, and harness my power for good. Yeah.
If I got to go out and get dressed or, you know, do battle with, make someone back down, you know, I'll say to myself, you know what, I'm legendary, okay? I have the age and the experience, and I'm legendary. And so when I go out, you know, there is nothing that anyone's going to do to limit me. Not today, and not you.
I love that. I love that. You got to do it. You have to do it. Self-care.
Rest assured that there are counselors out there that will help you embrace your inherent masculinity and who will provide you with the understanding to connect to it and to connect to yourself and your well-being and to the fact that you have value, which will allow you to go out here and to interact with people and not have an adversarial relationship with them. On that note, we'd like to thank all of you out there for joining us and have a very pleasant day, evening, wherever you are. Bye. See ya.
We have to find our histories. You know, we have to identify them, we have to acknowledge them, and we have to make them common knowledge. What's important about the MasculineUs project is that it is the potential to open up a global dialogue. And in that global dialogue, we get to ask ourselves a lot of, you know, questions. You know, how do we deal with people who may look different than we look? You know, do we accept them? Do we welcome them into the fold, or do we reject them? You know, and if we are choosing to reject them, why are we rejecting them? So I think that that's why this MasculineUs project is really important on a global level. The struggle continues.
I didn't have a lot of social development when I was younger because I was taken from my community. And when I say I was taken from my community, I was literally taken from my community. And I didn't have any powerful examples that taught me, that were teaching me how to interact with people in a way that was healthy. So now, you know, that I'm able to do that, I've been in the practice of unlearning all that misinformation for over 20 years. Now, a little over 20 years. It's all new to me. It's like I'm sort of like a kid. What works for me is mimicking what you just did. Using that, make sure I store that in the back of my head. And when Mercury comes back, you know, or when that person comes back who I don't really get along with, my first encounter wasn't a good one, I know how to talk to her now. Because before, the way I spoke to her didn't reach her in a positive way, but I saw how you did it. Now I'm going to mimic that and see if it works for me. That's the only chance I got, because my way didn't work before. But now, for me to walk up to you and say, just randomly and say, hey, Elise, can you show me how you interacted with this person who I didn't interact with too well? Can you show me how to be successful at doing that, the way you do it? And then I'm going to copy the way you did it. That's basically what I do. I've been faking my way through all this life, this whole time, for over 20 years. I've been faking my way through it by mimicking people in my community. So when I say community is important to me, and that's all I know, that's why I reflect what I reflect on video, community, because that's all I know. That's so, you know, I can go back to whence I came, but I can't go into places where they keep people who continue on that path that I was on once upon a time. I'd rather not. We have that. We can open up the newspaper. We can look on television. I'd rather mimic the people in my community who are powerful examples in this way to help improve life quality, who give me the possible solutions to challenges that I may have. So that's why I reflect what I reflect in my work, you know, and I just let the work speak for itself.